Hi there, Abby here. Welcome to day 2 of the Ignite Your Sales Challenge. Now in day 2, we're going to be talking about our sales messaging. And the reason I've chosen to talk to you about messaging is because in my experience of working with small businesses, this tends to be one of the key problems that is preventing sales growth. And it's also one of the quickest and easiest to fix. So we can fix this today in your business, and I'm going to show you the steps to do this. So before I do, I just want to backtrack a minute. So in an ideal world, our perfect sales strategy that we're looking for has 3 key components, which is the market that we're serving, who's our target market, what's the message that we're putting out to that market, and finally, what's the method? Is it e-commerce? Is it a retail store? What's the method that we're serving that market? And a sales strategy has to have these 3 components. Now, I'm not going to go into all 3 today. We don't have time. I do that in my workshop, in my courses. But for today, we're going to focus on messaging. Because what can happen here is we can be serving the perfect target market, and we've identified the right market. We have the right product and service, and we can be going to market in the right method, in the right manner, but with the wrong message, and therefore it's not resonating. So if we want thriving sales, these 3 key components need to all be in play. So let's look at the message today and how we do this. So before we do, I'm going to step back for a moment and look at the research. So 70% of our customers buy to solve a problem. So therefore, if our messaging is not talking about that pain point and problem and how we solve it, we're not likely to resonate. And the end goal here is we want messaging that just resonates with people. So they go, yes, they get me, I've got to buy it. It becomes an absolute no-brainer to work with you. That's what we're looking for here, because then sales just start ticking over. Because otherwise we can do all these other things around social media, blogging, you name it. But if the messaging isn't right, we're just not going to resonate with our target audience. So there's 3 steps that we're going to take today to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is come back to those pain points. So number 1 is going to be list out the top 3 pain points of your ideal client. Now notice I said your ideal client, because it's really important that we start focusing on who we want to attract. We all have customers that we know are not the right fit, doesn't necessarily work, they're not our ideal client, and we all know that. So let's start to focus on who we do want. So for your ideal client, if I said to you right here, right now, here's a client for you, I've got a referral for you, here you go, what would that look like? And what would be the top 3 pain points that they would have? So yesterday we talked about a running coach. So in that instance, it could be that I'm injured, I've got a calf injury, and so on. That's my pain point. And that's why people spend money, right? I will never go to the dentist unless my tooth is really, really hurting and I've got a pain point and I instantly want it fixed. That's the pain point that I'm prepared to part with cash to solve my problem. So that brings us on to part number 2. What is the outcome that people are looking for? So when people come to us, what are they looking for? When people come to me, they're looking to increase their sales, but without the overwhelm and authentically. So their pain point is that they don't have enough sales in their business. There's not enough momentum and they're struggling with sales. Perhaps they've tried and tested loads of methods and they're sick of that. That's why people come to me. I would go to the physiotherapist with my running injury because I'm injured, I've got a calf injury. The outcome that I want is to get running again in no time because I've got a race coming up, I don't want time out of training, I don't want to miss any more training, so therefore I want to be back on the road running again. So this is the sort of thing that we need to be focusing on. So list out the top 3 pain points, and that's also the top 3 outcomes that people come to you for. And you can spend 5 minutes on each of those. Then what we come to is rejigging our messaging. So part 3 of this is going to be revise the message. And when we do this, there's 2 things to focus on. The first is about being niche. And the second is about make it about them. Excuse my terrible, terrible handwriting. Not my core strength. So let me talk about those for a minute. So being niche, we tend to, in small business, suffer from FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. We don't want to miss out. So we try and be all things to all people. So I can be that physiotherapist that I help the elderly, I help runners, I help people who have just had operations and need to have a recuperation process. I help everybody. And we become a jack of all trades. And essentially from a sales perspective, it doesn't work. We're actually much, much better to be niche. So if I read a messaging around, hi, my name's Abby, I'm a sports physiotherapist. I specifically help runners who are frustrated that they're injured and they want to get back on the road running again. And typically I can get you back running again within 2 appointments. You know, and I'm making that up, but that sort of thing is very targeted. And if I read that, I'd go, yes, that person gets me. They understand my problem and they work with people just like me. In the same sense, if I said, hey, I help small businesses, I help medium businesses, I help corporates, I help salespeople, I help sales managers, you would perceive that I'm not an expert and I'm a jack of all trades. But if I tell you I specialize in working with small businesses who want to increase their sales, then it's showing that that is my area of expertise. And you'll understand that I've worked with people just like you to help them. So how can we do this in our business and be niche? Because like I said, people don't want to do it because they don't want to miss out. But ironically, we become all things to all people and it doesn't work. Now, the second thing is we tend to make it all about us. So, hi, I'm Abby, I'm a physiotherapist, I've got 20 years experience as a physiotherapy, I've got this certificate, that certificate, and this background. And it's all about me, right? And reality is, we don't want to start with that. We want to gain someone's interest, then we can have our credentials beneath it and follow up with that. But initially, we've got to attract someone's interest from all the noise. And that's not going to attract my interest because I'm going to assume that any physiotherapist I go to is qualified, they're certified, and they've got experience. So that's not necessarily going to make us stand out from the crowd. So we need to make it all about the client. So I understand that you're injured and it's so frustrating when you're a runner and you're injured. And I understand that you want to get back on the road running again as quickly as you can so that you don't miss out on valuable training time. You know, that's the angle we're going for. So we're resonating, we're talking directly to our audience as if we're talking to our best mate. And we're talking to you. I understand your frustrations. I get you. I deal with people like you every single day and I get you. That's what we're looking for in terms of resonating. So that's what we then need to do. Now, our final step, which is so important, step 4, is to test the message. Now, really, really critical bit here around testing the message. We need to test the message with a few friendly clients or target audience, or perhaps friends and family. But the friends and family, I air you with caution. I was once working on a messaging for women and I phoned up my brother who's a business owner and asked him for his input. Now, he's not a woman. So if you're not talking to your ideal client and testing it with your ideal client, you're not necessarily getting the right feedback. Now, one way that I've tested my messaging and I've tested the pain points is I went onto SurveyMonkey. I did 10 questions that weren't leading. I was asking about what's your biggest pain point, what's your biggest challenge. I wasn't leading them with the answer. And I put that link to that survey on several Facebook groups that were my target audience. People responded, and by the next morning, I had over 30 odd surveys back giving me the clarification I needed of, was I right? Was the pain point that I perceived and the outcome that I perceived what they were looking for? And on some of it I was right, and on some of it I was wrong. And that's where it's quite interesting because our personal biases tend to get in the way and lead us in the wrong direction. So if we test the message in that manner by either speaking to a couple people, putting a survey out, we can very, very quickly get an understanding as to whether we're barking up the right tree. Now, I've done this process in my business in under 24 hours. So I want you to share that same goal. So here's what we do. Write your top 3 pain points and top 3 outcomes. 5 minutes each, maximum. That's all it takes. Then revise the messaging. So this one we might want to spend a little bit longer. So, 20, 30 minutes playing around with the different messages. Now, to validate that we're on the right track, we test the message, either by testing out this message by calling people, as we said, to test it with a couple people. How does it resonate? Or putting out a survey. And that survey can either test the message of which one of these 3 messages resonates most with you, or it can be just testing, if we want a bit more clarification, the pain point. So like I said, I'll say, what are your top challenges in business? What are your top challenges with sales? What are your top pain points and frustration? So I'm not leading them with the answer that I perceive that it is. And then what we can do is, in under 24 hours, we can go back out to market with our new message. We can update our website if we want. When we're having conversations with people, we can use this new message and see how it works and see how it resonates. And in my experience, this is typically one of the key fundamental pieces that is missing in sales. The messaging's wrong, we're not resonating. As soon as we change it really, really quickly and we start resonating, buying from you becomes a no-brainer and the sales will follow. And that's why I've chosen this as our topic for today's challenge. So good luck. Don't forget to ask me in the group if you've got any questions, and let's get going. Let's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Imperfect action. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's just take some action. And I'll see you tomorrow.